for our community. So I'll call today's special meeting for Monday, July 26th, 2020 to order. Alrighty, may I start with a motion to adopt today's agenda, please? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we adopt the agenda for the special council meeting for Monday, July 26, 2021, as presented.
Excellent, thank you very much. Comments, questions, concerns regarding that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor and opposed. Motion is carried. All right, that brings us to our special hearing. A little bit of housekeeping. Section 172 of the MGA states that you may not take part in the discussion and decision-making on any matter in which you have a pecuniary interest. Legislation attempts to ensure that you are not discriminated neither for or against by virtue of your membership on council. If you have a pecuniary interest, you are to disclose that you have an interest and its general nature. You are to abstain from any discussions of the matter and from voting, and you are to leave the room until the matter has been dealt with, and you should make sure that your absentation is recorded in the minutes. You are not discriminated for or against, and you are entitled to participate in the public hearing as a member of the public. So at this point in time, does anybody have a pecuniary interest, council-wise? Seeing none, we'll move along. Today's hearing, we're going to have three opening statements, one from myself, one from, we have two special guests here today. We have David Lewis from BDO, and we have Rod Thorkelson from Brownlee Law. They will make presentations as well, and then we'll get into hearing from everybody and everybody's opinion and information from there. So this afternoon, Again, like I said, I'm very happy that everybody showed up. This is fantastic to see this many people interested in this very important issue in our community. We want to start off today by recognizing and acknowledging the many volunteers in our community. Council, along with all the staff at the Town of Olds, want to send our heartfelt appreciation out to all the volunteers, past and present, that have dedicated their heart and soul to making this community of Olds the fantastic place that we live in today. Throughout our history, our volunteers have been exceptional people, taking time away from their jobs and their families to make sure that Olds stood out as a rich and vibrant community. Thank you, one and all. We all appreciate everything that you've done. Secondly, we would like to acknowledge the incredible product that ONET is in our community. Again, Council, along with the staff at the Town of Olds, recognize this cutting-edge asset that we are all so lucky to have in our town. ONET is a source of enormous pride for our community and has delivered best-in-class internet, television, and telephone services for many years now. ONET is recognized across North America as one of the first gig-to-the-premises carriers and has been giving us bragging rights beyond comparison. The only thing better than the actual service that ONET provides is the actual customer service that ONET provides. Chris and Robin and the whole team of employees at ONET provide exceptional, best-in-class customer service that nobody in the industry can even come close to. You all know that if something goes wrong, which doesn't happen very often, these great folks are just a phone call away. And guess what? A real person almost always answers that phone call. That is hard to find in any industry these days. So thank you very much, Chris and Robin. You've done a phenomenal job. Back in January 2020, I attended an Olds Institute regular monthly board meeting to discuss some financial and governance issues that the town was having with the Olds Institute. At that meeting, I had said that the Olds Institute was a committee of the Town of Olds. I was wrong. Olds Institute is not a committee of the Town of Olds. It truly is an independent society. So I apologize to any board members that may have been present at that meeting. I was wrong. With the town's support of broadband and for Olds Institute, the considerable investment of taxpayers' money we have made as a town, we should have been viewed as partners, not just a bank. We believe that these meetings that I and our representative on the board attended that used these funds, our input should have been taken much more seriously. We as council represent the taxpayers of Olds, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that their tax dollars are spent wisely. That is why we wanted a new mandate and a new financial agreement with the Olds Institute. When we gained knowledge of how some decisions were being made by the executive at the OI instead of the board as a whole, we were alarmed and concerned. We are here today because council, administration, BDO, and our legal team have some very big concerns with regards to finances and the governance issues at both the Olds Institute and the Olds Fibre Limited, which operates as ONET. Let me close my statement by once again thanking the volunteers of our town. Your efforts and the thousands of man-hours committed to making the community of Olds an incredible place that it is. Thank you. All right, at this time I'll ask Mr. Lewis. I believe he's next up, and then Mr. Torkelson afterwards.
Point of,
Sorry, yes.
I apologize if I missed you declaring the public hearing open.
You are absolutely right. My apologies. I declare the public hearing open for July 26, 2021 at 1 p.m. in council chambers at 4512 46th Avenue in Olds, or Street in Olds, as required by sections 75.1, 75.5, 230, and 606 of the Municipal Government Act. And Section 3 of the Municipally Controlled Corporations Regulation, prior to obtaining control of Olds Fibre by acquiring all of the shares of the same and converting Olds Fibre into a MCC. Open. Thank you very much. Clerk? Mr. Lewis.
My name is David Lewis. I'm with BDO Canada Limited. We are currently the court-appointed receiver of OI, Olds Institute. Through that process, as receiver, we've sent out the required notices to the various creditors of Olds.
Can we turn that up? Our tech guy sort of.
Better? Sorry. My name's David Lewis of BDO Canada Limited. We are currently the court-appointed receiver of Olds Institute. As the court-appointed receiver, we have specific duties in order to meet our mandate. We are continuing to work on those duties. One of those duties is sending out a notice to all the creditors of Olds Institute. In addition to being the receiver of Olds Institute, we've also been involved as a financial advisor to the town regarding this process since about May of 2020, and it's taken with your many volunteers on trying to find a solution to work forward. The volunteers have put in countless hours, and I can attest to that, as I've spent time with those people who have care for the community and for the desired outcome, as is the town of OldNet being a success now and in the future, and to see its growth.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Torkelson.
And the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Can everyone hear me? We're okay? Okay, I'll proceed. Next slide, please. So my name is Rod Thorkelson. I'm a partner with Brownlee LLP. I've been involved on behalf of the town with respect to Olds Institute and Olds Fibre from the outset. I'm just going to provide a bit of a background, some statutory requirements, and some context to this public hearing and the process. So next slide. So early 2010, our office was engaged regarding the loan and security to support a fiber to the premises project. This created the OCCN and ONET, and evolved from there. The structure of this arrangement was the town as the lender, Olds Institute as the borrower, and Olds Fibre Ltd. As the guarantor. Due to financial concerns and impact of debt levels, the town conducted a debtor review in early 2020. And this review took into account operations and governance, financial capacity, and the prospects of timing for repayment of loans. A few issues were identified through that debtor review. The debtor review was conducted by David Lewis and BDO Canada. One of the issues was the likely inability to fund future loan payments as they come due, the likelihood of further delay in repayment of town loans, the likely need for the immediate need for a reduction of the town financial supports, and the need for new investors or purchasers to assist with reducing the burden on the town. Excellent. Oh, sorry. A sale and an investment process or marketing process was undertaken. This was not successful in attracting investors and buyers, and as a result, a receivership has been commenced with respect to Olds Institute. As the seeking of the sale and investors over the past year has been unsuccessful, it seems as if the last option available for the town is to seek the acquisition of the assets themselves in satisfaction of the outstanding loans that are owed to the town. Through this, the hope is also that the receivership will allow for a reorganization of assets and operations into one single corporation, and that is Olds Fiber Ltd, and the town as the sole shareholder. From a statutory perspective, the Municipal Government Act now allows the town to control a corporation if certain requirements and processes are followed. Under Section 75.1 of the Act, Council, in passing a resolution, the Council must first consider a business plan and must hold a public hearing in accordance with the regulations. And Section 230 of the MGA addresses public hearings. From a statutory perspective as well, as Olds Fiber is a going concern and active business, the services involved here are those of Olds Fiber. The name of the proposed shareholder, of course, is the town of Olds. The geographic or the service area is, of course, that of Olds Fiber. The rates are those of Olds Fiber, and as the town is relying upon the Olds Fiber existing business plan, there's no market impact analysis contained in that business plan, so there's nothing to circulate regarding that. So next slide, please. And for process today, this is governed by Town Bylaw 2020-15, which is council and committee procedural bylaw. This addresses the public hearing process, and just to give you a bit of a summary of that, who can speak today? Well, anyone attending and affected by the subject matter can make a presentation today. These are presentations to obtain public input. They're not a question and answer process. The town has endeavored to answer all questions that have been received to date, and those have been circulated through frequently asked questions document attached with the agenda, so hopefully that helps everyone with their questions. The time limit today for everyone is they're going to be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. With respect to written submissions, these have already been received. Most of them were received prior to the deadline. These have been attached to the agenda as well, so there's no need to repeat or read in those written submissions. And in terms of the order of their presentations today, they will be held in a particular order as outlined in the bylaw. First, starting with those supporting the subject matter today, then followed by those opposed, and lastly, those affected. And so with that, I'll turn things back over to the chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Thorkelson. A little bit of more procedure. Presentations before council shall be brief and to the point and limited to 5 minutes. We already covered that. Council is not allowed to cross-examine persons giving information, and it will not be necessary for persons giving information to verify his or her qualifications. Council may ask questions of a speaker after each presentation for clarity purposes. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed, and no written or verbal submissions will be received by council after the public hearing is closed. So persons who are addressing council should state their name and address and indicate if they are speaking on their own behalf or for a client, a company, or a citizens group. So at this point in time, I will ask for any of those to be deemed in support of the proposed actions to come forward. Second call for those in support. No? Oh. And if you could state your name and your address and press the little speaker button there in the middle.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Thank you, Your Worship, council, and guests. My name is Darren Wilson. I reside at 50 Lakeridge, Olds, Alberta. And as you will see, I do have a submission that was included within the minutes and the agenda, so I will keep my comments fairly short, or shorter than I was originally intending. And I will clarify, I do support the actions, certainly with respect to Olds Institute, with some reservations. And again, my reservations and comments are contained in my written submission. Essentially, I don't agree with the approach that's been taken. I was elected to the OI board in May of 2020, and I don't agree with the course of action that's been taken, the methodology and the process. But certainly with regard to Olds Institute, I do believe an intervention and change was required. There are many opportunities for change and improvement, I think, within the way Olds Institute operates. For many years, it has struggled with its identity and its focus and its role within the community. I think there are opportunities for improved governance, internal control framework and processes. And equally, I think there are opportunities for measuring results and tracking performance, continuous improvement, and essentially what gets measured gets done. Again, you will see from my submission, OI had some cash difficulties at the start of 2019, early 2020. It has basically consumed, or had consumed, its cash reserves. It had dipped into some restricted grants in order to continue to fund operations. And at the same time, you had a push from council for more involvement, as the mayor indicated, mandates, accountability, reporting, which I support. And conversely, you had Olds Institute at the same time reaffirming their independent status and autonomy from the town of Olds relative to the Municipal Affairs Act. Certainly concerning ONET, Olds Fiber, and OCCN, has been stated, there's no disputing the benefit of the asset to the town of Olds and its businesses and residences. Personally, what's frustrating for me, or disappointing, is an inability to have capitalized on that early advantage that the town of Olds had, certainly within Alberta, as far as being on the leading edge of bringing gigabit, rural, high-speed broadband internet to the community. And for that, there are a number of underlying factors that have impacted that approach. Certainly, if you recall, from 2013 to 2015, Olds achieved celebrity status. We were in many mainstream newspaper, news media, print media, extolling the virtues and success, and again, the leading edge that Olds had relative to broadband internet. We were even mentioned, if you think about it, in the Montreal Gazette, small town, rural Alberta town in the Montreal Gazette. Unfortunately, progress as far as capitalizing on that, bringing economic development, bringing economic growth to Olds, and expanding ONET has been challenging, partly because ONET is capital constrained. And further illustrating how difficult that growth and expansion is, you had the executive director of Olds Institute traveling from Missouri to Washington to Newfoundland to Toronto to North Bay, attending conferences, trade shows, trade missions, sharing the learnings from ONET. But again, it just shows how difficult growth can be. I've been challenged trying to understand the history and chain of events There are contrary or conflicting views, opinions, and interpretations. Some facts align, some diverge. There are emotions and many underlying components adding to the complexity, and I believe lender rights and ability to mitigate risk are fundamental to the discussion. In the absence of trust and with emotions and ego, perhaps there was little hope for dialogue and negotiation that would have led to common ground, for which I am disappointed did not happen in the past 15 months. I don't know if the MCC is the answer to gaining access to investment capital and growth or a sale. It does appear to address the town desire for increased involvement,
Mr.
input, and control.
Mr. Wilson, sorry, we're over our 5 minutes.
Thank you. Ultimately, everything is for sale with the right price, terms, and conditions. Regardless, the outcome, ensuring taxpayers do not become financially responsible is key, and I do hope that the town recognizes the benefit of Mountain View Power, and it can be used to continue to support community growth and investment without the umbrella of an organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Hold tight, we'll see if there's any questions from council for clarity. Mr. Wilson, if you could just hold tight. Were there any questions for Mr. Wilson? Seeing none, okay, thank you. All right, let's move along down the list. Anybody else in support? All right, we'll move along to the first call for those opposed. Mr. Wagstaff, is that next? Do you have any on the list, or who's next on the list? All affected?
Pardon me, sorry, I believe they're all affected.
Okay, then we'll move along to the second call for those opposed to make a presentation. And seeing none, then we'll move along to those affected by the proposal. So Legislative Clerk, who's first on that list?
Mrs. Lynn.
Mrs. Lynn. Yes.
First of all, I would like to express my appreciation in being able to address, I think, a significant issue in Olds. I am a volunteer on both the Community Lifestyles Committee and the Age-Friendly Committees. Shortly after the formation of the Age-Friendly Committee, a member of the board for OI requested that we speak at the Sustainable Conference that was being held for rural communities throughout Alberta, here in Olds. And it was at this conference that I understood how other communities appreciated and were eager to learn what was going on in Olds. I appreciated mostly the gifts that the founding Old I members who produced the OI offered at no cost. Gifts of intellect, vision, time, commitment, and yes, even I would guess a little patience. I could not have felt more proud to be a member of any community where Olds was seen as having a vision of thinking and being willing and able to act outside of the box. As a resident of Olds, I am concerned about our community, and I am concerned that closing the Olds Institute and its various and many committees and businesses and programs will affect the character of Olds. We can always go back to the piecemeal method of trying to meet various community needs, like a patchwork quilt. I would like to know in more detail about what the vision is, what organization, business or person will meet the needs for both the OI business parts and its community parts. How will our community needs evolve to be met? And as a taxpayer, what will the cost of these changes make to me? I understand that many here voted to support the Olds Institute at the beginning and understood what it cost. Many of your employees have provided great support to our committees, and there has always been the opportunity for town presence or requirement at board meetings and other committee meetings. And just on a personal level, I can tell you what my husband most fears. When he has questions about computers and my TV issues, when we phone ONET, we get immediate, clear answers where the response, if they have to send somebody the next day or come on their own time, they do that. He fears and that when a call is now made to some business, it will say, "Thank you for calling. Your business is really important to us. Please listen to the following options," etc., etc. And we'll get back to you in a week or two as we can. And that is one of a user of OI, ONET, that we are concerned about, and of course taxpayers. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lynn. Were there any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, we'll move along. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson? Just Mrs.? Okay. Oh. Yes. Yep, just, there you go.
Speaking, right? We're not speaking yet. Yeah, you're speaking. I know, but we're not our speech yet. Okay, well, I can start. Well, Your Worship, members of council, thank you very much for this opportunity to address you today. I'm Rita Thompson. I live west of Olds, and I'm a founding member of the Olds Institute for Community and Regional Development. The work to form the Institute began in 1999. Kathy Doyle was the treasurer on the board, and I served as vice chair. I retired from the board in April of 2009, and Kathy in 2010. The Olds Institute provided an umbrella and an opportunity for volunteers to work and start initiatives that were for the greater good of the community. And I have a long list of those, and I could give them to you, but it'll take up too much time. In those 22 years, the time spent by volunteers on those initiatives over the last 22 years average about 20 hours a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. If you multiply that by the minimum wage of $15 an hour, it would add up to $51,480,000 worth of volunteer time. And that's conservatively speaking, because there were some that spent much more time. We also spent a lot of money out of pocket and covered our own paper expenses. In the beginning, there was teamwork with all the partners. The town, the Olds Regional Exhibition, the Chamber, Olds College, Chinook Edge School Division, and Mountain View County. John Maxwell said, "Teamwork is what makes the dream work." It became a nightmare when the leaders and partners of OI no longer shared a common vision of purpose and principles to guide the process. One of the principles that guided us in our deliberations, that's a Rita word because I don't like deliberations, we need to deliver, was that first you need to understand, and then you govern yourself accordingly. Without a common vision of purpose and principles, there have been a lot of miscommunication. Some are saying chandelier, and some are saying light bulb. I think we all want to turn on the light. As a result, teams have become dysfunctional, and mutual respect was lost. It's very sad indeed. The loss of mutual respect has been destructive. That was the moment when everything changed. The blame game began, and trust was eroded. There are few elemental forces that hold our world together. The one that's the glue of society is called trust. Its presence cements relationships by allowing people to live and work together, feel safe, and belong to a group. Trust allows organizations and communities to flourish. The absence of trust can cause fragmentation and conflict. It saddens us deeply, and today there was a volunteer with Kathy and I in absolute tears that it has come to this. Our community lies fragmented and in conflict. The current environment feels like one of beat or be beaten, kill or be killed. We're asked to take sides, and there's so many different conflicting views, it's hard to know. When did we as volunteers become the enemy? And volunteers are feeling that neither the town nor the Institute really wants us. Volunteers who have dedicated years of their time and money feel discounted. However, as Bernice said, our committee is taking the high road. There's less traffic there and you can see better. And our community lifestyles has received support from the town of Olds and District Chamber of Commerce. And as Bernice said, we've had the town always in attendance at our meetings. We are continuing to work with Alberta Rural Development and the Red Deer Community Foundation on our initiatives. We are here today to ask, and I think Darren alluded to it, that we come together to find a common vision of purpose and principle to guide us, and together find a way that we as volunteers can continue to serve and contribute to our community in an environment under an umbrella that's not political. As Osmond O says, you and I do not need to agree on what happened in the past, and we may never, because there's all these conflicting points of view. We need to agree on a way forward. Each and every one of us has a role to play on the way forward. The process needs to be collaborative and inclusive. None of us have been in on any of these discussions. They've been very, and you know, I think we had something to contribute. We're not stupid. And transparent because, and here's one of mine that I got from Bob Clark, within the word community, there is the word unity. Within the word unity, there's a you and an I. And if we have no you and no I, we have no unity. And if we have no unity, we have no community. Thank you. That's from our committee members. There's about 15 of us. And I have a letter from Bev Taves. Now, it might take me a little longer. She's the chair of the Fair Trade Committee, and she's away on holidays. And she also thanks you all for this opportunity. She said, I've been a volunteer in many communities over the past 43 years. And as a volunteer, I have never felt as supported and as much a part of a team as I have under the umbrella of the Olds Institute for Community and Regional Development. It is a unique organization that I've been proud to be part of and to promote provincially and nationally, especially throughout the Canadian Fair Trade Network. As an organization of volunteers, businesses, organizations, educational institutions, and locally beneficial business ventures created through a progressive vision of volunteers in partnership with the town of Olds. One of the benefits I have experienced are the synergies that have been created when people from various committees of the OI work together on projects that would not have happened if we have all been working in silos, which we feel is what's happening now. I have served on a variety of committees, including the Sustainability Olds Committee. which at one time afforded the opportunity of chairperson to a student from Olds High School, who's now working in politics on the federal level. The Fair Trade Olds Committee, which has engaged in a myriad of partnerships, including hosting and supporting local events and collaboration with OI partners, such as Mountain View Power, Uptown Olds, and Olds College Brewery to raise awareness and increase availability of fair trade certified products. So people support fair trade can shop locally rather than travel to other towns or cities to purchase these products. The Olds Indigenous Connection Committee that came together because of partnerships made between the Olds Institute and the town of Olds organized 4 National Indigenous Day celebrations in Olds and is now a subcommittee of Mountain View Moccasin House. The Olds Institute, ONET, and Mountain View Power are 3 things that make the town of Olds unique and admired by people from many municipalities. It is my hope that we continue to lead by example, can reimagine these assets, and maintain as much as possible, keeping ONET and Mountain View Power as locally owned companies that create jobs and whose profits continue to benefit our community. And that's from Bev Taves, who's the chair of the Fair Trade Committee.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Thompson. Could we have a copy of that so that we can, you do have it? Okay. Very good. All right. Are there any questions for Mrs. Thompson or Mrs. Doyle? Seeing none, thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Legislative Clerk, who's next?
Thank you. According to our next list, we could have Maureen Gustafson, Grant Spence, or we could read some correspondence in, whichever way you want to go. Public.
Let's hear from the people that have signed up. So
Those
who
are the
is
ones that
next?
are registered, and then we'll go to the list.
Okay, and which,
Mrs.
sorry?
Gustafson or Mr. Spence?
Mrs. Gustafson. Pardon? Nothing to present? All right. Mr. Spence?
Can you hear me? As a former teacher, I know how to blur it out. My name is Grant Spence. I live at 5521 51st Street. I've been a resident of Olds since 1974. From its inception, I have been a strong supporter of this vision that would put the town of Olds on the map as the first town in Canada to provide fiber optics to every resident and business. It was a bold vision. I personally spent many hours as a volunteer signing up property owners to allow ONET to lay the fiber optic cable to their residents or business. I'm here to present a petition signed by 473 residents. This petition was completed in merely 3 days. Over the weekend, many people were away, but we accomplished a lot. The petition is titled, Petition of Delay Olds Institute Asset Disposal. To the Council of the Town of Olds in the Province of Alberta. The petition reads as follows. The undersigned persons being electors of the Town of Olds in the Province of Alberta hereby respectfully request that the present elected council of the Town of Olds, Mayor Michael Mazichka, Debbie Bennett, Mary Jane Harper, Marianne Overwater, Wanda Blatz, Heather Ryan, Mitch Thompson, will not authorize the disposal of the assets of Olds Institute of Community and Regional Development, OI, prior to a new council be elected after the October 2021 election. This is the documents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spence. Any questions for clarity for Mr. Spence? Yes, Councillor Thompson.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spence, I haven't seen the petition. You mentioned 473 people have signed the petition.
That is correct.
Okay, and that was done over 3 days?
In 3 days, over this weekend, starting Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. So my question would be to Mrs. McKinnon. For a petition to be valid, what types of requirements are there for a petition?
We have a document in there that's a follow-up. The last document that's in that package that I think answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. McKinnon?
Thank you. As per the MGA, we will accept the petition, and the CAO and I will review it to report on the sufficiency of it, and we will advise the minister accordingly.
Excellent.
Just as a brief comment, I think it's important not to be worried about the petition and the legalities of a petition and then decide we will throw it out. That would be throwing mud in the face of all these people who have signed this petition. Their voices need to be heard, and we don't want politics and requirements about a petition to get in the way.
We're here today to listen to everybody's
Okay,
voices.
I'm glad that is the case.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Spence. All right, who's next on the list?
We received an email that I can read in, unless
Please.
there's anyone else that would like to speak from the gallery.
Okay,
That would
we'll-
probably be our
We'll
first
go to
call.
the list next, but yes, let's read the email into the record.
Okay. The email was received on July 23rd at 10:51 a.m. from John Smith. Hello, we strongly oppose the Town of Olds takeover of ONET at this time and propose that, 1, the town defer any action on the ONET file until after October 2021 elections. 2, the present and future mayor and council engage face-to-face talks with ONET community reps and/or previous ONET board members to resolve issues and arbitrate unresolved issues. And 3, that the town's first priority must be the continuation of ONET as the premier facility it has become, providing first-class competitive price services as a viable business entity. Respectfully submitted, John and Margaret Smith.
Excellent, thank you very much. All right, and that's all the emails that weren't included in the original?
That is correct.
Okay.
If I could, please, I received a letter from Mrs. Doyle.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you, Mrs. Doyle? There you go. Would you like me to submit? Thank you.
Okay,
Mrs. Doyle also submitted a letter.
please do.
I'm here today as a founding member of Old Since, am I reading?
Your worship, can you just turn up your
Oh, I'm
your volume,
sorry.
please?
Is that better? I am here today as a founding member of the Olds Institute for Community and Regional Development. Oh, I apologize. Okay, my apologies, then we don't have to read.
Looks like it's already in the record. That was the one that was included in our agenda package. No? Oh, it's just the one you spoke to, okay. All right,
Okay, and then Sandra Cadman? Is there Sandra? Or Sandra? She in her other room, maybe?
maybe, yeah,
She had written that she wished to speak on our sign-in list,
okay.
so.
Well, let's see if we can't find Mrs. Cadman, and let's move to the next person, and then we'll bring her in after.
Gordon Brown said possibly.
Okay? Is there a Gordon Brown?
Brown? No?
No? Okay,
and Nathan, and I'm going to say the name wrong, I apologize, Wingley? Is that, please correct me. Thank you. Thank you. Please push the silver button.
And officially, your name and address, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Nathaniel Willinga. I live at 5850 Imperial Drive. I moved here about 3.5 years ago. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. All right. I'll slouch a bit, yes? Hello, my name is Nathaniel Willinga. I live at 5850 Imperial Drive, Olds, Alberta. We moved here about 3.5 years ago. I just wanted to say I didn't come with a speech or very much in way of prepared words, and I'm not terribly good with them. However, I did want to make my voice heard. When we chose to move to Olds from Calgary, it was away from family, it was a small town. There was not a lot here, but there was the Olds Institute. And I strongly believe that without the Olds Institute, we would not be here. I'm a software developer, my wife is a physician. I like to think that we contribute to the community in our own way. I like to think that we're wanted here. I don't think we would be here without the Olds Institute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Were there questions for this presenter? Seeing none, thank you so much, sir. All right, who's...
Mr. Brown doesn't feel his comments are relevant at this time, and we
Okay.
are not able to locate Sandra. So,
Okay.
oh, she doesn't want to speak.
Oh, we
Okay.
did find her. Okay.
And that's all I have on the list, so
All right.
I guess I would do a floor call.
Are there anybody else wish to speak? Sure. Mr. Smith? Little silver button, please, and your name and address.
Okay, my name is Warren Smith. I live at 6107 60th Street in Olds. I have, for the record, I am a recently resigned member of OFL, and also have been on the tech committee of Olds Institute. So, Your Worship, Council, and guests, I would like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to finally have a voice in regards to this matter, and I say finally, and you know why. And that why brings me to speak today. I would say this, having been preceded by people more eloquent, intelligent, and informed than myself, I will say that I believe this assembly and perhaps the community has misjudged our and your ability to affect change through leadership in our community. I think that was misjudged to the point where these became legal issues rather than collaborative discussion, convincing issues. I will say once again how shocking it was as a member of the OFL board to have our first knowledge of the actions that have been taken, a letter from a lawyer in Edmonton. Subsequent to that, as a board, we have requested many times any opportunity to speak with counsel. The answer was, have your lawyer speak to our lawyer. That's where the misjudgment came in my belief. I also believe that as a group of people, this council and perhaps their council haven't really understood the magnitude of the can of worms that they were opening. I believe that there was opportunity for change, and I can tell you this, that from the OFL board table, on many occasions we discussed how the town could be more involved, perhaps for OFL to be a utility, and so on. So this idea is not a new idea, and I can't say I'm opposed to MCC. However, I think we missed the boat. We could have been ahead of where we are now through discussion and collaboration and leadership in our community rather than legal demands, legal threats, legal submissions along the way. So, I have heard here Mrs. Thompson spoke about community and unity and I and me and trust. I think we can get there again, but it has to be done in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Were there any questions for Mr. Smith? Ms. Councillor Thompson?
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith?
Okay, go ahead, Mitch.
Use the term shocking actions. So there was no notice prior than the letter from legal counsel to Olds Fiber Limited?
I repeat, not a whisper.
And you mentioned that opportunities to meet and discuss things with council were denied.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, I do have one question. Could you tell everybody where you were at 6 p.m. on September 14th, 2020?
What time was that?
6 p.m., September 14th, 2020?
Of course not.
Yes, you can. You're at the Pomeroy in a meeting with OFL, OI board members, and this council. Can you tell me where you were October 26th?
I was
2020?
at, once again, a meeting where
Okay.
Point of order, the mayor is cross-examining a
No,
witness.
these are clarity,
so to speak.
because everybody is up here and talking about no cooperation. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. I really do appreciate your comments, but I did want to just ask for clarification. The one statement you just made, that you would not be opposed to an MCC.
that's what I said.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
If I may comment,
Yeah, please.
we still have not had a meeting between the OFL board and council. Thank you.
We've had two, but, okay. That's not accurate, sir, but thank you. All right, anybody else? Mr. Thompson? We should, yeah. Kara, should we see if anybody else outside, if there's still people outside, wish to speak? Okay, anybody outside that would like an opportunity to say something? Okay, Mr. Thompson.
Your Worship, Councillor, and everybody else that's here, I just want to say that this has been a really moving time for me, going out, talking to people again, and this, everybody in the community is really, really upset. Personally, extremely mad too. But no, that's not really the answer. The answer, what I keep saying to everybody is, I would like to see a group put together now. If you can put a petition together in 3 days, in the next week, 2 weeks, have a meeting between council, the investors and things. But there's got to be a way to solve the problem here. Right now, we got fire against fire, and we only end up with ashes. This town wasn't built on ashes. This town was people working together and making it happen. And like Warren said, we can do it again. But I don't want to see us going off and getting into something there. Give us a chance. That's all I say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. All right, we'll wait and see if Kara came up with anybody. Okay. Anybody else in the room like to speak? Yes, sir, come on up. Please, once again, state your name and where you live.
My name is Gary Scholler. I live at 11 Lake Ridge, and I don't like public speaking, but I feel the need here. I've got a letter to the editor that will be in this week's paper, and it seems to be very prevalent to what we're talking about today. I'm going to read the letter if I may. So it says, shocked, disappointed, and so many unanswered questions. My wife and I have been proud citizens of Olds for almost 40 years. We have raised our family here, and we love this town. We have always enjoyed the great community spirit and the amenities that come with living in a small town. Many of these amenities have been provided by community-minded volunteer groups, and we need to say a big thank you to all these volunteers. Town forced the Olds Institute into bankruptcy. To say that I was totally shocked when I read that our mayor, councillors, and administration had forced one of our great volunteer groups, the Olds Institute, into bankruptcy for no apparent reason would be an understatement. Olds Institute has provided Olds with services that only enhance our community. Mountain View Power, Mountain View Gas, doctor retention, and of course ONET, to name a few. So what were you thinking? I believe that Olds Institute had previously met all of their financial obligations as per the agreement with our town officials. So what would be the reasoning? It's my understanding that the town's motion to call in the loan in May 2020 was done without any previous consultation with Olds Institute, and that the first notification to the Olds Institute regarding this action was a letter from the town's legal counsel. Following this legal action, our mayor and council then refused to meet or discuss their actions with Olds Institute, citing it as a legal matter and couldn't be discussed. This does not sound like our town officials acted in good faith while dealing with a volunteer group who only have made Olds a better place to live. Why did it have to become a legal matter with no prior attempt at resolution? Yes, I'm disappointed with these actions of our mayor, councillors, and administration. Many of you have likely secured a residential mortgage to provide a home for you and your family in the past. Imagine this scenario, if you will. You have faithfully made all of your payments, met all of your commitments to pay back your loan, have worked hard to improve your property, and have started to raise your family. Then one day you receive legal notice that the bank has changed its terms and requires the mortgage to be paid in full within the next year, or the bank will foreclose, and you and your family will be evicted. You too had no previous opportunity to meet with the bank, so no opportunity to resolve any concerns they may have had with the terms. And now it's a legal matter and can't be resolved without meeting these new terms. Chances are that you and your family will soon be homeless. The above scenario would be very unethical and sad, and thankfully not likely to happen. But in essence, this is what has been done to our tremendous group of citizen volunteers who collectively have donated thousands and thousands of hours to improve the quality of life in Olds. Once again, I ask, what were they thinking? And what message does this send to all of our volunteers in the town of Olds? Signed, Gary Scholler. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scholler. Were there any questions for Mr. Scholler? Thank you very much. All right. Kara, anybody else? Ms. McKinnon.
Thank you. Ms. Cochran has checked, and we have one last written submission, and everyone else for verbal is.
Okay.
This is a submission from Robert, and apologies, Desmond, D-E-I-S-M-A-N, of 54th of Olds. ONET Council Meeting, July 26, 2021. You as council should be ashamed of yourselves. You ask the public to buy local, yet you are trying to destroy something to be proud of. This was started with a lot of volunteer hours and has been a good service to the town. Service has been very good and easy to access. You should be supporting it, as it helps keep the big suppliers' prices down. IT is hard enough to get any business to start up, let alone one of this caliber and size. There are remains of failed shops all over this town. End of statement.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
I come with nothing prepared.
Okay. Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Mel Giles. I almost going to give my old address, but 4574 51st Avenue in the condo building behind Grouchy Daddy's. I wasn't coming here prepared to speak or anything, but I'll tell you what I saw transpire a moment ago between you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Warren over there really irritated me tremendously. It's an example, one small example, of why the dialogue did not take place. And I'm going to say thank you to all those volunteers out here who worked with me and your colleagues over the last 24 years to get it started, get it up and running. I'm not talking about ONET, I'm talking about Olds Institute and all of the various communities that volunteers put work into in this community. And to see the lack of communication that was apparent today, and I'm looking straight at you, Mayor Muzychka, I'm highly disappointed. And the door has been opened, whether you see it or not. These people have opened a door for you and council. And if you want to continue serving us in this community, step through that door, please. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Giles? Doesn't look like it. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Pardon me? Oh, second affected? At this time, I'd like to make the second call for those deemed affected to come and make a speak. Seeing none. All right. I will. Are there any comments or questions from council? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. In the opening comments by our solicitor, it was suggested that there was an immediate need for a reduction in the funds that ONET, or the Olds Institute, owed the town of Olds. Could you, what was that immediate need?
Remember that, Worship.
Yeah, the immediate need was in order to make room in their debt limits for other priorities and other spending by the town.
Your Worship, Olds Fiber Limited was paying its principal and interest payments to the town of Olds. Did the town not receive an opinion years ago that as long as Olds Fiber Limited was and the Olds Institute were making those payments, that debt did not impact the debt service limit of the town of Olds?
Mr. Torkelson.
I'm not familiar with the opinion that you're referring to, so I can't comment.
Through yourself to the CAO, did Reynolds Mirth provide an opinion to the town of Olds suggesting that the debt service limit for the town of Olds would not be impacted by Olds Fiber Limited as long as Olds Fiber Limited was making payment on the arrangements it had?
I do not have knowledge of what you're saying. All my dealings with the town of Old. Sorry, can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear? I'm not aware of any correspondence that I've had as the CEO with the Reynolds Mirth law firm. We have used the Brownlee law firm since my inception here, and my understanding it has been the law firm that we have used. But if you have correspondence, I would love to see that, because I don't have that correspondence on me in regards to that.
Thank you.
Did Municipal Affairs provide that leeway?
I don't have that information, that Municipal Affairs provided that leeway, but Municipal Affairs will not provide a legal opinion. They will provide information to any municipality, as you are probably aware of.
Okay. All right. Yes, Councillor Thompson.
As per section 75.7, in brackets 3B, there was a business plan and a marketing plan analysis that should be presented. Are those being presented in this public hearing?
The business plan remains confidential, and those are never provided on a public basis because they are related to the business operations of the corporation itself. As for the marketing impact assessment, there is no marketing impact assessment contained within the business plan, and so there's nothing to be circulated for a market impact analysis. Because the town is relying upon the existing business plan of OFL with modifications should the planned acquisition of both the OCCN and the shares of Olds Fiber proceed.
Is that business plan being presented to council? Are we in accordance with the regulation for this public hearing today?
Yeah, so prior to any resolution to be passed by council, it must consider a business plan, and it must have conducted this public hearing. The business plan is the Olds Fiber business plan with additions to it, which will be conducted by David Lewis. Additional information to that will be conducted by David Lewis, and that will be considered before the resolution is passed by council. Today, there will be no resolution passed. This is just simply a public hearing.
Any further comments before I declare our public hearing closed? Yes, Ms.
We have
McKinnon.
one last speaker wishing to speak to council. Debbie Crawford would like to
right.
come forward if you'll allow.
Please.
Hello, everyone. I've just been allowed to come in, and I feel this whole situation is very, very frustrating that we're even to this point. ONET has been built by business people in our community, volunteers, and it just almost takes my breath away to think that we've even come to this point. And all across Canada, maybe even around the world, our community is looked at that we have a gem, and you are willing to throw it under the bus. And anyway, I just feel our community with volunteers building things, I just feel we should leave it as is. And I feel people are misunderstood, and people are not willing to listen to the issues and what is really going on with ONET, and it was falling on deaf ears. And I feel you as councillors and the mayor, you have done our community an injustice.
All right. Were there any questions for Ms. Crawford, Mrs. Crawford? Seeing none, thank you. All right. That's it. Last chance for anybody to speak. Yes, Mr. Spence? We're here to listen today, so.
A lot has been said.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to know is, What are you, as mayor and council, how are you going to respond to all this hurt that you have caused to our community? We need some answers, and not going back into your in-camera sessions where everything is held back and nobody knows what's going on, no information is released, or when it is, it's at your convenience, and it's so little that it's meaningless to us. We need to get you to respond with us, as so many people have asked you to do.
Okay. We'll take that under consideration. Thank you, sir. Yes, Mr. Stauffer. Come on, please. Yeah. It won't be in the recording if you don't speak into the microphone, sir.
My name's Dick Stauffer. My name is Kenneth Richard Stauffer, and I live at 46 Harrison Green. And I don't profess to be a lawyer, but I have a implementation fact sheet about municipally controlled corporations. And I'm a bit nervous. And it says this information must be made to the public no less than 30 days in the public hearing. And one of the things is a cash flow projection for the next 3 years. And Mr. Thorlison said that that's confidential information. If he wants the copy of this, he could certainly have it. Thank you. Any questions?
Hold tight. Mr. Thorkelson?
Send him a bill, Dick. Thank you. He's probably getting 150 an hour now.
All right. Any comment at this point, or should we move along?
Yeah, so cash flow projections are part of the business plan. The business plan is not intended to be shared. It is a private document for the corporation itself, for its business interests. That's plain and simple. So that's not one of the things that would be shared in advance or shared at all.
One of the things that is sort of lost in all of this is that ONET is a for-profit corporation, and many of its dealings are not subject to public scrutiny and are not something that we can share in the public, which is why which is why most and all of our meetings have been in a closed session, because according to FOIP and the MGA, we cannot disclose a lot of this information because it's harmful to that business, or could be harmful to that business. And I understand the frustration of everybody. We're frustrated on this side of the table because there is so much information out there that is, how do I put this, politically correct. It's one side of the story and it lacks context. And I think if everybody understood the full scope of why we're doing what we're doing here, they would understand why a lot of this has to remain confidential. For example, if there was something, well, I suppose I can't even go into examples, can I? Sorry, I so hear the frustration in everybody's voices out there. And I can assure you, the council and myself sitting around this table are equally as frustrated because we can't say what we want to say, and we can't give clarity to everybody because of the legal obligations under FOIP and under the MGA. It is incredibly frustrating, and I apologize. Council and I and legal and financial will sit and talk. We haven't, your words aren't on deaf ears. We do absolutely have heard everything that you have said, and we will take it all into consideration and see what we can legally do. Eventually, all of this information will become public. And I trust that when everybody sees it, they're going to understand, number one, why that information had to remain confidential. And number two, I think you'll have a much better idea of why we did what we did. And let me assure you that council and I have all of the taxpayers of the town of Olds' best interest at heart. We're talking about $18 million, folks. That is nothing to sneeze at. That will ruin this town. That is more than 50% of our yearly budget. Everything we have done for the best interest of all of you. Please bear with us. I'm sorry. I wish I could show you everything, and one day will. And then when you do see it, I trust you'll understand why. I'm sorry you don't trust us. Anyway, anything else from council? Councillor Thompson.
When can the public anticipate a response from council as to Mr. Spence's question on providing information and a course forward?
I can't put a time limit on it, but we'll do as quickly as humanly possible. We will have those meetings this week. All right, so I do declare the public hearing closed at 2:19. Thank you, everybody, for coming today, and thank you for sharing. Yes. Councillor Thompson.
Worship, if appropriate, it might be timely to thank the tremendous volunteers that have put so much time in again.
Absolutely, I did twice in my opening preamble. Thank you so much, everybody, all of the volunteers of the town of Olds. Yeah, who would like adjournment? Councillor Ryan. All in favor? Passed.